Can't read my, we are live. Let me tweet out the link. I can't really sing, this is fun. Hey, see people compiling in for a fun show tonight. We're going to talk about OU. Just kind of final thoughts on that game. We had a great discussion about it Saturday night, even though it was like 11 o'clock. I'm pretty happy no more night games. My perfect slot for this is like 3:30, or even like 11, even though I hate noon games because, God, I'm so tired. But welcome, everybody, to Missouri Live. My name is Zach Ramelius. As always, I'm here again. There's some stuff going on with the Missouri channel that I can't figure out, and I just need to talk to people about it. But I've had a crazy week, and, well, here we are. So thank you all for coming in or listening. If you're listening at a later date, this is a fun show. We're 7-2 now. Eli Drinkwitz, if you go back to last year, 19-4 or 18-4. That's ZOU. Went with the old gold. I couldn't find a real match for the old gold on the banners, but we're here. We're watching the basketball game. Ugly first half, but at least start. Second part of the offense got going, but whatever. But yeah, I've had a crazy week, and I'm tired. I can't wait to go to bed tonight. I didn't have work today, but thank you to all our veterans out there for what you do and what you have done for this country. And yeah, let's get into it. So obviously, Missouri beats OU 30-23. We had a great discussion about it on Saturday. Kind of my final thoughts as we wrap up this game and this week is, you see it a lot on Twitter. You see it a lot from a lot of people, but that's a game Missouri loses. And you saw the outline for how Missouri loses that football game. A running back who had played pretty well all game fumbles, and OU houses it. Now they're down 23-16. Backup quarterback. They got to go to the length of the field. Oh, God, another disastrous Missouri loss. No. In fact, it worked the other way, especially against OU, who, has ripped Mizzou's heart out so many times. I wouldn't say ripped heart out. I'd say more killed them. And you came back. You won the game. Pretty, it was a nice win and a good feeling for this Missouri team and this Missouri fan base. Can't get enough of beating OU. Yeah, special teams personal foul leads to 3 free points for Oklahoma. It was up and on. And special teams is not a well-coached unit. And I don't remember the last time Mizzou had great special teams. I mean, there are moments they had a good kicker last year, obviously, but whatever. I'm sure if you're a Mizzou fan, after all the back and forth between OU Twitter and Mizzou Twitter, this weekend was a lot of fun. Just taking shots at Oklahoma, who, I was pretty nice to. We had a wonderful OU fan in the comments, but OU came into the SEC. A lot of smart people tried to tell them, hey, your O-line's not very good. We thought the quarterback would be better, obviously, and part of it is their receiver injuries. I mean, Farouk and Burks played Saturday, but Jackson Arnold just stinks. Their O-line stinks. It's I don't know. I don't know if you guys are ready for this. And they haven't been. Again, part of it, the wide receiver injuries. But I thought Mizzou, that was the game all year. Missouri fans have been this is the game. That's the big home game. And Mizzou fans showed out, man. Farouk was crazy. That was super fun atmosphere to listen to. After the game, you could tell the players took. Like I went live right away, so I didn't see a lot of the post game stuff. I obviously saw Drinkwitz's. So we'll talk about that. Drinkwitz's comments, and then they brought it up. That's what kind of spurred this. Is talk crap on Theo Weiss for 2 years, and he talked about being personal. Yeah, like Theo Weiss ran over to the OU student section and was like, like just talking trash, and like Mizzou and OU fans have been going at it for a year. Like it's been pretty gross, and I usually like that kind of stuff because, especially in like the NBA anymore, even in like the MLB or the NFL, there doesn't feel like there's a lot of hatred in sports. All these kids play together. They play high school together. They play AAU together. Like there's just not a lot of hatred, and I always like it when it comes out. But some of it got pretty nasty, and there's a lot of just crapping on Theo, and then Theo goes out and scores 2 touchdowns and shoves it in OU's fans' face. It's like, that's what they're gonna do. Like this is like for Theo Weiss, like he didn't step up in program caliber. Like you leave OU and you step down a notch, perceived, to Mizzou, and then you put 2 touchdowns on their head and beat them. And this is why he came back. He came back to play in this game. He could have been a round 4, round 5 pick last year. He came back to play in that game, and he showed out, and he had an awesome time. Drinkwitz, obviously, after the game, made the comments about Bob Stoops. Like, Bob Stoops made some comment about, like, how we always beat Missouri. Like, the SEC's not going to be that tough. Like, we always beat Missouri. We always beat Texas A&M. And while Bob Stoops was there, he wasn't wrong. But if Tom Osborne said the same thing about Missouri, it'd be like, you're not wrong, but it's not 1993 anymore. And for OU, it's not 2007 or 2008. It's a different program led by different leadership. Remains to be seen if Brett Venables is the guy long-term there. Obviously, they're going to be making an OC hire. They're probably going to look at getting a quarterback in the portal, unless under the new OC, like in winter workouts or whatever, they really like or the new OC really likes what he sees in Arnold or Michael Hawkins. I don't see it in either of them, but you never know. But no, Mizzou fans, I know OU's probably not going to make a bowl game. They got to play Bama and LSU. Probably not going to make a bowl game. But enjoy it. You can't tell, like Mizzou, obviously Oklahoma isn't Kansas, but like you can't tell me Mizzou fans, if Kansas randomly, which this isn't going to happen while Bill Self's there. In basketball, if Bill Self randomly had a team that wasn't going to make the tournament and Mizzou beat them, you wouldn't enjoy it. Like, you don't enjoy it. They're not that good. Like, come on. Like, OU is now your biggest rival in the SEC. Not overall. It's Kansas. But in the SEC, they are your biggest rival. So, enjoy the win. It was a lot of fun. It seemed like a great environment. I know a couple like podcasters were there, and they had a great time. And it seemed like a really great time. And I wish I could have gone, but tickets were so expensive, man. Like, I really wanted to be there. Like, when they announced the schedule, I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm not missing that game. And it just, like, enjoy that one. That was a special night in Columbia. And it'll be remembered, like, the last time OU came to Columbia. When these big-time programs, Tennessee last year, when they come to Columbia and you kind of beat their butt in a little bit, and Mizzou didn't kill them, but when you get to kick their butt and shove it in their fans' faces, fan bases that have really disrespected Mizzou, good for it. It just makes for an awesome evening of football, and good for the program. But now you have to turn the page, and this is a game I've been nervous about all offseason, and now the script's kind of been flipped, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But first, let's talk about the biggest thing now is injuries. The injury bug has come to Columbia. Mizzou really did a good job of avoiding injuries last year. Cook stayed healthy. Burden had the ankle sprain, but he was still able to play. Weiss was healthy. But now this year, and the O-line stayed fairly healthy. This year, not the case. So it was announced today that Connor Tollison, who did go out with an injury, Mizzou starting center, will miss the rest of the season, which is really unfortunate because he's probably been Mizzou's best O-lineman, certainly best interior O-lineman. And Drake Hessmeyer, I thought, came in and did a nice job in limited snaps, but how is he going to do going on the road in a really good environment against probably the best D-line in the SEC? We'll find out. This is going to be a test for Marcus Bryant. This is going to be a test for Caden Green and Armin Membu and Cam Johnson. They're really going to have to help Hessmeyer out. And Caden Green's not certain. Obviously, it's Monday. The injury report hasn't come out, but he did finish the OU game, but he got knocked out a couple times. Mitchell Walters is the other guy there, but we'll see. Moving on to other injuries, Nate Noel played against OU, looked pretty good, but was obviously on a very limited snap count. So can he play? Can he be a workhorse? Can he get 15 to 20 carries? Because the offense, especially that run game and that stretch zone play, is a little crisper with him compared to Roberts or Marcus Carroll, especially Marcus Carroll, who's just been offensively maybe my biggest disappointment. I thought before the year he was going to be the starter. He's very clearly not the starter. And he might not even be second string at this juncture. He came to Mizzou working in a Thunder and Lightning tandem with Nate Noel, and he's just been really disappointing. Still time to turn it around. 3 games left. He's a couple big games. A big game against South Carolina will go a long way in helping fixing that narrative. But and then of course the big injury, Brady Cook. Is he going to play? Is it going to be Drew Pine again? Drew Pine, played pretty okay against OU. He was okay. I don't know if that kind of effort is going to get South Carolina, because as disgusting as Oklahoma's defense is at all 3 levels, South Carolina's D-line is amazing. It reminds me of like 2014 Mizzou. And now these guys are higher rated prospects and might be first round picks. So it's kind of hard to compare directly. But Shane Ray was a first round pick. South Carolina fans, is there any of you watching? If you remember any of that era from Mizzou, they had Shane Ray and Marcus Golden on the outside. And that D-line in 2014, like the offense was really sputtery. It wasn't great. And that D-line just killed teams and it shut down offenses. And you could not do what you wanted to do because you had to worry about their DNs. I don't know if Mizzou can, I don't know if South Carolina's guys will be picked in the first and second round like those guys were, but they're certainly on their way. Kennard and Dylan Stewart are monsters. And they're going to be a pain to deal with, which is probably why Brady Cook hopefully will play, and hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully that ankle's healthy enough where he can move, because he's going to have to move. What's up, Jackson? How's it going over at Alabama Live, man? Fun weekend for you guys. But on the injury report, Mookie Cooper, is he going to be able to play? Josh Manning was virtually invisible. Part of that is just Drew Pine just isn't going to look for a third read. He just can't, and he's not good enough to do that at right now, or probably ever. But the injuries are starting to pile up on defense. They're very thin at D end. Zion Young went out for a couple plays. Obviously came back because he scored the winning touchdown. See if he's nicked up at all. You tend to see that. Guys come back in because the adrenaline's going, and then they come out and it's just like, oh man, I'm hurt. Or a day passes. So we'll see on that front. But at the end, they're really thin. It's Johnny Walker. It's Zion Young. Eddie Kelly can go up there, the transfer from Georgia Tech. And then it's the freshmen, Shakai Lang. It's Williams Numenari, who are just not probably ready to carry the load yet there. I mean, Shakai Lang had some good snaps. He missed a sack on Arnold. If he could have finished, it would have been a great play. But he won his rep. He just wasn't able to finish. So hopefully Zion Young's healthy. I haven't seen anything that he's not, but it's just something to keep note of. At linebacker, they're missing Khalil Jacobs. Tristan Newsome is finally looking much better, so I don't think they're too worried there because if you have Newsome, you still have Corey Flagg, who played his butt off on Saturday, and then you still have Chuck Hicks, so you still have three guys that can play in your linebacker rotation. And a corner and safety, they've been healthy all year, so except for the Charleston injury for a couple days. So injuries are starting to pile up for this team. I'm just really excited to see what they do against South Carolina. So now, thank you all for being here. This is the Voice of College Football. We're currently on the SEC channel and the South Carolina channel. If you're over here from the South Carolina channel, how are you guys doing? But subscribe. All the stuff you hear YouTubers say, man. Like and subscribe. The Voice of College Football. From when I started doing this, and of course I started on the Alabama channel. So when I started doing this 4 years ago, Mark had a vision of what he wanted this to be. And it just has grown year after year after year after year. And now we got networks everywhere, man. We're on Spotify, where you can listen to all our shows on your podcast platform. We have a bunch of new channels. So no matter what team you root for, there's probably a channel. And if there's not, reach out to Mark and see what we can do. I never thought I'd get a Missouri channel. And when we started this or start doing Mizzou shows. But yeah, so subscribe, support the channel. We're just going up. We're just a bunch of people who love college football, who love talking to people about college football, and we're not going anywhere. So subscribe. And of course, if you want to hear Mark's thoughts on everything, you have the College Football Show with Mark Rogers Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, where he can kind of just break down the week, talk about any major news, injuries, especially as we start to ramp up. And now we're having a serious talk about the playoff and what teams are in, what teams are on the bubble. Eli, after the game, said we're still in the playoff hunt. Technically, they are. I'm going to have them pretty no, they're not. But they would need a lot of help. They don't control their own destiny in the slightest. So they probably need Tennessee to lose a couple games. Just a bunch of things to happen that I don't know. I'm not certain will happen. But that's Mizzou. We listen to his show. He's a great take, covering coast to coast. And, 9 a.m. Central, where I'm at. And, 10 a.m. Eastern. But now we can move on to South Carolina. South Carolina is a program Mizzou has beaten 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. Again, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23. 5 times in a row. This is after South Carolina beat them, 16, 17, 18, 3 times in a row. And so it's a rivalry that has gone pretty back and forth. There's very rarely been complete just butt kickings. 2012 was a butt kicking in Mizzou's first year in the SEC. 2013 is one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. I'm not going to talk about it. I was there. 2014, Mizzou comes down from 20 to 7 to win in Columbia when they were completely dead in the water. 15, Drew Lock's first start. 16, bad Mizzou team, pretty decent South Carolina team. I believe they won 8 games that year, maybe 9. Back and forth. South Carolina pulls away. 2017 was the Debo Samuel show. 2018, it felt like the rain came only when Mizzou had the football. That was annoying. Nothing weird in 2019. 2020 was a really crappy game between 2 mid teams. 22 or 21, same thing. But then 22, Mizzou goes on the road, beats South Carolina, a team that ended up finishing in the top 25, kind of controlled the game from start to finish. And then last year, South Carolina, they were not on the same level as Mizzou, and they got killed. Not unsurprisingly. So, this series has been pretty fun. It's been a little bit of a rivalry because of the whole Columbia thing and who's the real Columbia. They have a trophy, the Mayor's Trophy for it. but this is the first time in a while I actually, at the point you got to South Carolina, I was like, oh, South Carolina's a better team. But yeah, if you look at common opponents, both teams have played. Of course, South Carolina went to Alabama and almost won the dang thing. They beat Texas A&M. They beat Mizzou. Obviously, did not beat Texas A&M. They crushed Vanderbilt on the road. Mizzou took them to overtime. If you look at similar opponents, there's a reason this line, I believe I saw today, was at 11.5. There's a reason for that. I don't necessarily think that line's that crazy. Mizzou basketball just cannot pull away from Eastern Washington. I don't think the line's crazy at all. I actually think I actually am shocked it's not a little bit higher. Not maybe 2 touchdowns. I know it opened up at 13.5, so maybe there's an inkling that Cook may play. But I think this is a really good South Carolina team that's going to prevent a lot of issues. I know we saw a comment earlier. Another mobile QB Mizzou has the game planned for. Yeah, Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders in the backfield are playing some really good football. They're a good tandem back there, and they've gotten more confident as the season has gone on. Shane Beamer, before the season, I thought he was on the hottest seat of any SEC coach not named Billy Napier or Sam Pittman. He's kind of put that away. Like, he's having a really nice year. The difference between Lenora Sellers and, say, like Jalen Milroe or, Thomas Castellanos got benched. So basically benched at Boston College for Grayson James. So it's hard to even compare them. But Sellers not a great thrower of the football, unlike a Milroe, or that's basically it, because like Connor Wegman wasn't that mobile. Mizzou just made him look really mobile. Jackson Arnold, I guess, kind of, but like he stinks. Lenore Sellers presents a lot of issues for this football team. Rocket Sanders, this isn't his first go around with Mizzou, and he's having a great year. He's averaging 5 yards a carry, over 5 yards a carry. He's got 10 touchdowns. Robbie Ashford comes in sometimes, I know, for them offensively, and just likes to just – all he can do is run the ball. We saw Robbie Ashford at 2022 at Auburn. This is a really good South Carolina team. Offensively, they're super balanced. They're not like the most explosive offense in the world, but they play complementary football with a really good defense and a defensive line that just kicks butt, man. They just kick tail, that defensive line. And they're 12th in points allowed per game, but they're 53rd. So I don't know how many points Mizzou needs to win this one. Like last year, I had a feeling like I'd probably need 17. Obviously, they needed more because of defensive touchdowns. But Lenore Sellers, he's not – I don't think he's a great quarterback yet. I know a lot of South Carolina fans are excited about him for the season. But his stats aren't horrible. He's completing 61% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, only 4 picks. So he's not putting the ball in danger a ton. I just don't think receiver-wise they're that talented. Their leading receiver is Joshua Simon, who has 357 yards. Nick Harbor got a lot of hype before the season, and because of NCAA, because in NCAA he's like a 99 speed and a 99 acceleration, like some crazy numbers, because NCAA stats aren't real, but NCAA stats aren't real life. And he's been really disappointing. I know I've seen some South Carolina people talk about, like, man, he just cannot play receiver. He's just an athlete right now. But he's probably the biggest name there because of NCAA 25. Other than that, Mason Bennett, like Rocket Sanders is their third. They love getting the ball into Rocket's hand, and he definitely looks more like 2022 Rocket than 2023 Rocket or 2024 Rocket Sanders. We're in 2024. I'm sorry. He looks more like 2021, 2022 Rocket Sanders than 2023 Rocket Sanders. He's a bully, man. He's a big boy. He bullies people. He's a good running back, and he's going to present a lot of issues for Mizzou up front. Mizzou defense has been really good this year. I think it's one of the more underrated units in the country, but they, those D tackles are going to have huge games. That Mizzou's D line is going to have to play some big game, have a big game. Can you make Sellers a thrower? I mean, no team's been able to do it yet, so I would say no. Probably not. I mean, if you look at South Carolina, they should have probably beaten LSU. If I don't ever like blaming refs, it's not my thing. There's a 60-minute football game. You have plenty of opportunity to not give up 30 points, or score more, whatever. But, if South Carolina just finishes that game, they're 7-2, and they played Bama close. Who else did they lose to? They kicked the crap out of South Carolina. They kicked the crap out of Kentucky. Oh, they lost to Ole Miss. They got killed by Ole Miss. That's right. That's kind of their outlier performance. They just were not good in that game. I know Lenora Sellers was hurt, but I wouldn't say that. I don't think Mizzou will ever go up enough where South Carolina is going to abandon the run game. That's just not going to happen. I don't think this is a Mizzou offense is good enough with Pine or Cook that Mizzou's going to go up 17-0 or 20-3 or something crazy, and they're just going to be able to. They're just, hey, like you got to throw the ball. I don't think that's going to happen. So it's going to be consistently limiting the explosives in the run game and trying to keep them off schedule. Can you get them to 3rd and 8 every once in a while? I don't know. We'll see. I don't completely think that line's ridiculous. I think 11.5 is pretty accurate. I think South Carolina's been a better team this year. I think they are a better team, which is a crazy fluke we were in the preseason where I was like, I don't know if South Carolina's going to make a bowl. Now, they go 9-3. They beat Mizzou. It's going to be a top 25 win at the time. They'll beat their whatever. I forget who they have next week. Someone crummy though. And then they have Clemson. And if they had won, they win all these games with a win. With the win over Texas A&M. They lost at Bama. Like, they beat the crap out of OU. They beat the crap out of Vandy. Like, South Carolina at 9-3 should probably get some mention for the playoff. They won't make it, but this is a top 20-ish, top 15 team if they finish off that season. And if you're in the top 15, you're a potential playoff team. So I just think, man, if the LSU game had just gone their way, I really do think this could be a playoff team. They'll still be in the hunt if they win this weekend, but like if they do win this game and they go 9-3, like South Carolina fans should just be haunted by that game against LSU. Man, you win that one, you're really on it. But moving on to the defense, like I said, their D line is just. I mean, Kyle Kennard, Nick Singleton. I thought not Nick Singleton. Good Lord, not the running back at Penn State. Nick Skirton, the transfer from Purdue to South Carolina. I think he's been the best transfer in the SEC this year. Now I'm going to pull up Nick Skirton's stats just real quick. I don't have them in front of me. Yeah, he's only got 5 sacks. Now he's been disruptive as hell. Like you watch Texas A&M play, he's been really good. But Kyle Kennard has just been on a different. Like he's the only person I've seen this year just destroy teams. Yeah, Purdue to A&M. Kyle Kennard basically made Jalen Milroe's life a living hell in that game in Tuscaloosa. He's just awesome. I love watching him play. He's going to be a first-round pick. And getting him from Georgia Tech, like you just see the difference. Like Mizzou got Eddie Kelly, who's provided some really good snaps for the Tigers, but they get Kyle Kennard, and Kyle Kennard, 2023, 6 sacks, had a pick, 11 tackles for loss. Like, he was a good player, but he's just been a dominant force for this South Carolina team. And then Dylan Stewart, the 5-star freshman, he doesn't make a huge impact outside of sacks, but he's got 9 tackles for a loss too. Like, he just loves wreaking havoc. He's an awesome player. That defense is just good, man. Like, those two guys lead the team in tackles for loss. Demetrius Knight's behind them at 6. It's a defense that loves to fly around. We have no idea. I do this Monday, so we don't have the injury report. So we saw the line go from 13.5 to 11.5. So I do wonder if Vegas got tipped off that Cook may play or might be just questionable. But if I had to guess, it's going to be Drew Pine, which we'll talk about offensively what they're going to need to do here in a second. But yeah, I'm going to guess it's going to be Drew Pine for the most part. South Carolina defensively, they cause all sorts of problems. Clayton White is their DC. He's been there for a few years now. So, because I was looking it up and I'm like, is it still that white guy? That sounded bad. Clayton White is still Clayton White. He's been around there for a while. He got there when Beamer got there. Came over from Western Kentucky. So, he's having a heck of a year. Offensively, they finally don't have Marcus Satterfield coaching them, so that's a plus. Anytime you get rid of that guy. But who is it? It's not. Who is South Carolina's OC? Like, the name is. Oh, it's still Dow Loggett. Oh, I take it back. He is better than Mark Satterfield, who's already gotten fired at Nebraska. But I was like, he was there last year too. He's chasing Clowney's record of 8. I believe that is right. I can look that up for you real quick. Come on, phone. Yeah, 8 sacks, which is just an impressive number, a ridiculous number. That it's like we see 5-star. Like, David Stone went to OU, and he talked some trash about Mizzou before the season, and I don't think he played Saturday. I didn't notice him, but he's a 5-star D lineman. Williams Nari's at Mizzou, 5-star D lineman. Hasn't really made an impact this season. So to see Dylan Stewart come on the scene as a 5-star freshman and just tears things up in the backfield for them, it's super impressive to watch. He's a freak, and it's going to suck having to deal with him next year in Columbia, Missouri, and then not have to deal with him his junior year. Because, good Lord, he has 6.5 sacks this year. Can he get to 13 or 14 by the time he's a junior? It's just insane. Now, what helps is he's playing opposite Kyle Kennard, who is also been a mutant this year. So, can South Carolina continue to find guys to play opposite him so he's not just facing, Myles Garrett coverage where it's 3 guys all around him? But, we keep talking about the lines. I can't legally bet here in Missouri. I've just changed that for no reason. I'm super excited. What is going on? My computer is not competing. That's not what I wanted to do. I got to stop playing around with this. My computer is not doing what I want it to do. Why is the preset blue on Mizzou? We'll change it to yellows. But if you like to bet, which I can't legally in the state of Missouri, unfortunately, because my computer is freaking out on me. Why are you doing this? There. You happy, computer? I got to restart you at some point. Anyway, If you like to bet, I legally can't because I am unfortunately in a state. Now, Missouri did just pass a sports betting law, but that's not going to be for a while. But if you do like to bet, you should take a look at this.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
Well, welcome back. Yeah, so I guess if we're talking about betting, it's time to give some predictions. I think this game, 11.5 is a fair line. I don't think this game will be a blowout in either direction. If it is, it's going to be on the South Carolina side. I don't think Mizzou's capable of blowing anybody out with Cook or Pine. I just don't think offensively they have the capability. If they had the quick strike ability they did last year and the ability to pick up chunk plays, then I would be like, yeah, maybe. But this is a core of a team that has gone into Columbia, South Carolina before and won. So I don't think that place will intimidate them, even though that is a crazy environment, most underrated environment in college football, especially at night. Texas A&M saw it a couple weeks ago. I just don't see either team. I don't see Mizzou being able to blow South Carolina out. If South Carolina gets ahead and it is Drew Pine, Mizzou's in trouble. I mean, they're going to have to find a way to move the ball effectively and avoid negative plays, which they haven't done a great job of this year. And you can't be a team where if it's 2nd and 9, like the drive's over, or if it's 3rd and 6, the drive's over. And we've seen that too much. Maybe with another week of being the starter, Drew Pine's got a little more confidence. We saw the confidence pick up. It might come down to like it did last week. Can Mizzou's receivers win some 50-50 balls? Can Luther Burden make a big play? How healthy is Nate Noel? It's just going to come down to things like that. Offensively, you got to keep South Carolina off pace. Like Lenore Sellers has gotten better as a thrower. I still don't think he's great or very good, to be honest, but he needs to find a way. Mizzou needs to find a way to keep them off pace. You can't let them consistently be getting into 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3. You need to have them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7 if you're going to win this football game. And I'm not entirely sure this defense can do that, completely shut them down. So, but I think the defense will give a good effort. I don't think South Carolina will blow Mizzou out. Can Mizzou finish drives with touchdowns? That's been a bit of an issue this year. They're kicking a lot of field goals. I just don't know what it's going to look like. It's a big game for both teams. We'll see. We'll see what happens on Saturday. But my prediction is South Carolina 24, Mizzou 16. I don't know if South Carolina will get a defensive touchdown. Mizzou's defense hasn't given up 24 to anyone but Bama or Texas A&M all year. But this is another road trip. Eli teams really struggle on the road. They've been played in 2 real road games this year. They went into Alabama and got just smacked around, and they went to A&M and got even smacked around by more. So I know the difference was more in the Bama game. in the Texas A&M game, they were healthy and had their starters. So I'm really excited for this game. South Carolina is always a fun game. It's one of our more anticipated ones just because I think the Gamecocks and Mizzou are pretty similar in terms of level of program at this point. And if you can beat them and stay ahead of them, that's super important. So that's my prediction, 24-16. Thank you guys all for watching Missouri Live. I will be here Saturday, post-game. Game's at 3:45, right? So I'll probably be on like 7:15. Break it all down. Yeah, we'll have numbers. I'm super excited. I just can't wait for that one. And it'll be a fun weekend of college football, as it always is. You guys enjoy your week. Thank you once again to any veterans out there for your service to this country. And have a great night.